Here with John Aldenburg, who heads up research and development for Aldila. And John, what's new? What's going on with you guys?
What's new this year is our new rip shafts. We brought them out on tour late last year, and they've just been doing great. RIP for us, it stands for reverse interlaminar placement. So to put it in layman's terms, we basically build the shaft inside out, doing a little different than anybody else has done it before. It's just a more efficient way to build a graphite shaft, and so far the results have been fantastic.
So we're pretty much talking to gearheads here. What they're going to want to know, what do you mean you build the shaft inside out? How's that work?
Well, typically graphite shafts for the most part are built in two sections. There's the inner section, which is bias plies, and some people refer to that as the torque core. And that's put on the tool first, and then the longitudinal plies, or the plies that control the stiffness, are put on top of those. What we've done is we've taken the bias plies and moved a large portion of those in the tip end of the shaft to the outside. And the further you get the plies away from the center line of the shaft, the more efficient they become. So what we do is we have a more efficient use of the shafts to control the torque. It also helps provide hoop stiffness in the tip. And the tip is the most active part of the shaft. So if you can get greater control down on the tip, you're going to have greater control overall. And that's what we've done.
Now you spend a lot of time out on the PGA Tour, and you use the information that comes to you from the PGA Tour to help you develop your products. What are some of the things that you hear from tour players that help you in developing shafts that all the rest of us can use?
Well, what we're looking for really when we work with a tour player is we want him to be able to control his ball flight. So if we give him a shaft and he doesn't feel he can hit the ball consistently with it, we know there's something not right, something we got to fix. We look for consistency and control, and that's one of the things we got with the rip shaft. Everybody said, hey, this is consistent. I know where the ball's going. So that's one of the biggest things. And then you look for certain things with different players. Some players want a little bit more spin to keep the ball up in the air, so you develop one sort of shaft for them. Some people want a little bit less spin. So you kind of use them as a test bed. You find a player that wants a little bit more, a little less spin, you bring them a shaft that you've developed to give them that specific parameter and see if it actually does it for them. If it does it for them, it's going to work for the average golfer also.
You've been driving research and development for this company for as long as I can remember. Mm-hmm. How do you stay passionate, and then how do you stay ahead of the curve? How do you maintain your leadership position in the golf industry?
I think what you got to do is you just have to think outside the box, and you got to try things. Golf shafts, unfortunately, what we're dealing with is a stick. The rules of golf don't let us be all of that creative. So you just have to try things and continually experiment. The rip shaft was just an idea from one of our engineers, just saying, hey, golf shafts were made like this, have been made like this for 40 years now. The way I described them earlier. What if we just do it different? What if we build the shaft inside out? What is it going to do? And it worked. So you just have to try and be a little bit inventive. A lot of people out there, they come up with different shafts that they say, okay, this is our newest shaft. It looks a little bit different. What does it do? Well, it hits the ball high with less spin. Well, that's what the shaft you came out with 2 years ago did. What we try and do is we try and actually put different technology into our shaft. The Voodoo shaft 3 years ago, it was different. It was an actual technology. It wasn't just a different way to control ball flight. It was a new technology. Same thing with the rip shaft. It's a different product. It doesn't look a lot different other than the paint and graphics because, again, we are constrained by the rules of golf. It has to be a stick. But we are constantly trying to innovate to find ways to build that stick differently to help the golfer out.
All right, listen, I got a 95-mile-an-hour club head speed, and I'm not getting any younger. John, come help me find a shaft. Let's go.
Okay.